Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Mushoku Tensei, Season 1, Episode 23. Last episode was a lot for me to deal with.
It was emotional. It took a toll on me emotionally.
Are we going to get like a Rudy alone, like mirroring Zuko alone in The Last Airbender at this point? Like, I don't know. I feel like after going our separate ways, in terms of Ruijerd and Eris, we probably won't be seeing them anytime soon in terms of like storytelling, right? Mm-hmm. The way that we left off leads us down a road of either a lot of time's going to pass one way or another before we probably will meet up with them again. Mm-hmm. Or it would be really awkward.
It's also like, what do you do with a short amount of time left? Do we continue with this...
In the season, you mean?
Yeah, in the season. Do we continue with Rudy processing being alone and trying to figure out, like, wow, I'm going to be going to rescue or try to find two people now by myself while I've been journeying all this time with others, and now I'll be looking for the last two members of my family and the people I care about by myself.
Sylphie and Zenith?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that Sylphie might be a safe bet in terms of where we could be going next or who we could be looking for based off of, you know, the new knowledge that her name was written on the list of potential survivors. Yes. We don't know where, but
Did you have any weird feeling, though, about, like, there was this relief of seeing her name crossed off, but the not having meeting her yet.
Yeah.
And the unknown of, like, who crossed her name off.
So here are my feelings about that. I am cautiously optimistic because I want everything to be happy and me to be okay.
Okay.
So in that regard, I would love for Sylphie to be living her best life, kicking ass with the magic she does know.
Yeah.
And be the contrast to what her bully was. Mm-hmm. That being said, we saw her bully. And we saw the type of life that most people, and children especially, are living in after the Mana disaster, you know?
I wouldn't be surprised if the show was tricking me a little bit with that. With this, for us to feel that same emotion that Rudy feels when he looks at her name and has the relief that she has been found and in some way and is found alive.
Yeah.
That we get that relief too. But because I know that things are so up in the air with how people are being treated, the actual... Like, she could be alive, but that doesn't mean she's well.
Yeah.
So
if she isn't well, whoever made her that way is going to feel the wrath of everything Rudy has learned so far.
The other thing is she could be a totally different person now.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't seen her in years, and there was a lot of impressionable years that she led separate from him.
Yep.
And she could be a totally different person now, for the better, too, maybe.
I still am holding true to what I said at the end of last episode's discussion. Whenever it is, if it's now or 10 years from now when we finally catch up with Eris, I need to see her and Ghislaine catching up. Like, I need to see it on screen.
We want to see Eris telling Ghislaine all about Doldia and all about meeting Ghislaine's brother.
Yep.
All of that. Like, I want to witness that.
I want a rematch. I want, like, acknowledgement of Eris's new skill. God, what would a dream battle be? But like a sparring match between Ghislaine and Ruijerd look like? There's so many things that this great world has to offer that I need to see be explored.
Mm-hmm. And all the great things that this world and show has to offer, before jumping into this next episode, want to again say my appreciation for that visual last episode of the wine, both in the dream state and then when Rudy was drinking it later and it fell onto the floor and it turned into Eris's hair. I started thinking about it more, and that whole promise that they had made, I was thinking back to that original episode, and in that episode, the wine, I believe, was also a topic. There was a conversation with Philip and Rudy while drinking about Eris's possible hand in marriage. Was Rudy going to try to take over the family, if you will?
I have a question for you. Like, obviously we know where Rudy's priority lies in terms of his family. Do you think he is going to feel any responsibility or desire to go towards the political side of the world. Like, after learning, like, of these offers of Eris and, like, you know what I mean? Like, the interpolitical kind of, like, workings of how they're punishing people like Soros.
Maybe part of... I'm a little, like... I'd be a little worried for myself as a viewer if we got into more of a political atmosphere, because I have disliked some of that already with, like, PAX and...
Oh, you mean, like, you dislike the characters who come from royalty.
I dislike the characters that we've been shown are royal, the people that killed Soros, you know? I don't really want to have any run-ins and get really into the politics of this world.
Yeah.
Because the royalty doesn't seem like the nicest breed of people.
But that could lend itself to the reason why we do it, right? Because if there's, like, pieces of shit in there, we'd want to go and weed them out.
Yeah, it's more for, like, my stomach.
Ah, gotcha.
That I don't want to get into it, and my nervousness, and oh no, scary people, mean people.
Yeah. Huh.
More of, like, a self-protection of my stomach.
All right, well, let's see where we're going to go. You ready?
Yep.
Sweet.
Eris and Ghislaine.
Short hair.
The short hair. Of course they have it covered.
We're so happy we're seeing this. I didn't expect it.
I didn't either. I'm still wondering if her parents are secretly alive.
Interesting animation there. Do you think that Rudy is going to hold on to Eris's hair that she cut off?
I'm not sure. He likes to keep mementos, but that was like this really tense kind of bubbling under the surface that didn't feel great to see. Makes me worried about his mental state going into this next episode. Starting new, hope. It's almost like he turned away from the light there.
Oh, shit.
Wow. And his room's so different. Oh, would be strong if he could. It's like he's regressing. Wow. He's gonna protect her.
Yeah.
So no one follows after her. Basically saying he can't be a freeloader. Then or now.
Whew. God, this is so good.
Wow. Watching him almost die.
She wants to be stronger for him. Oh, this is so rewarding. Oh. She looks great. God.
They're left with this like hopeful feeling, and he's been giving his all for them, and now he's empty.
He needs the motivation, right? To get up after he's fallen. Look at how much impact he's had on everybody else. He needs to have impact on himself.
It's very true. He's very helpful and useful.
No. They're with Kishirika?
Look at like what the path he has laid down.
Think they're gonna talk about Rudy?
Maybe. Look at. Is Roxy gonna get an eye?
Such a showman.
It's literally like the same scene except she's tied up. Your mom is waiting for your big brother.
We gotta get up, Rudy.
Your mom's waiting for you.
Oh. Middle Earth, like under the crust, like what?
Labyrinth City. That's exciting.
Kishirika.
But Rudy knows where Zenith is now, so she can. Roxy knows, so she can go get Rudy, and they can go get Zenith. Oh, this is so different.
Continue. It's so hard to get up, and the longer that you don't, it's just harder too.
People don't change that easily. And you let it drag on.
I rejected them.
Why? I'll take responsibility for waking you. She's waiting for him. She's waiting for you. Is the door open?
Oh.
The door's open.
Holy shit. Oh.
Oh. Wake up and take a step.
Recruit him.
It was Sylvie with the glasses on! Stop. Stop.
Fuck off! Okay, that was Mushoku Tensei, Season 1, Episode 23.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite episodes of this entire series. I felt like I was like I was just so enthralled by most of it, and then the fucking Sylvie thing at the end. God damn it.
I remember when
Holy
we were like
shit.
in a kind of discussion where we were zooming in on things, and we did zoom in on the blonde girl up in the balcony with the elf with the glasses, like, you know? And I was like, that's the same haircut as Sylvie.
God.
What? No wonder they said that Sylvie's been found, because obviously she has been.
I'm going back to whatever that episode was, right?
Soros's execution.
Yeah, I believe it was episode 14, maybe? I could be wrong, just a guess.
Somewhere in there.
Why? How?
Yeah, episode 14
like,
is when Soros dies.
How did that happen?
She wasn't transported very far.
What the fuck? I feel like such an idiot.
So she probably gets hired on because of her skills with magic, right? Because she was trained by such a high-level magic user?
Probably. I'm just like, I guess, like...
And did she change the color of her hair for reception? Because she used to get bullied for the green hair?
I guess the thought is like, okay, you could be transported anywhere, right? We've seen the bad. So Sylvie could have just been transported into like a royal or powerful atmosphere and dynamic, and then after seeing her potential was raised with it.
It
and
looks
then
like she's
rewarded
respected.
in kind. Yeah.
Like, she's obviously presenting her case of why she thinks, like, Rudy would be a great fit. I guess they're coming together with some sort of team or their own guild or something.
Okay, what do we feel about this? Like, this faction of people right here?
Well, honestly, they were probably the most pleasant-looking people in that room that day when Soros died. It didn't look like they were, like, super happy to be at an execution.
Yeah.
So, I have a feeling that they are on the side of good. On the side of Sylvie. I think Sylvie's actually, like... You know, when we were in the intro before starting this episode, and we were, like... we were trying to figure out, I guess, maybe even internally, I was trying to figure out what Sylvie could be like now, since all of this very, like, informative years she's had and impressionable years she's had alone and without Rudy, when she kind of grew into her own confidence because of him. And I thought to myself, probably just internally, what if she's some form of, like, badass, you know? Like, she kind of just, like, took this step because of this foundation of confidence and respect she has from Rudy, and just, like, took it and was like, I got this.
Yeah.
And comes into her own. I can't wait to, like, interact with her again now.
See, I'm with you, but will we? Like, dependent on where Rudy goes from here and what he does.
And why show us this now? You know, what is the timing of having this little conversation about recruiting him? You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's obviously nearby to them because he's just now leaving his tent, and the tent is outside of, it's in the Fatoa region, which I assume is where these royals are from.
Maybe.
Because
we don't know
they were at Soros's execution.
The snow is telling, I guess, but I don't know.
Interesting place to have us start theory crafting and our minds going crazy about.
Okay.
Because they gave us like 4 options for the next step in this
I have so much more to
episode,
talk
right?
about.
Didn't they?
Yeah. Like, I felt like I didn't know where the story was going to go at the end of last episode.
And now they're like, hey, there's a bunch
shit.
of paths that we could possibly go down. Which one do you think it is?
First things first, it was so rewarding. Like, it's like planting a tree and nurturing it and then being able to take a bite out of the fruit that it produces. Being able to see these interactions between Eris and Ghislaine and Paul and Lilia, and being able to see Ruijerd going out and proving his worth and not being chastised because of what race he is, and like he's just being like, people were inquisitive about him.
And how easy it was for just him to approach them to learn who he is after just seeing that he wasn't a threat. And them to be like, oh, well, those were bedtime stories. Maybe if I was a kid, it would have scared me. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Rudy has given so many people hope within this life. And it's one of the best things the series has ever done was in this episode. And that being the switching out of the parallels in between Rudy's past life and this one.
The editing for this episode was great. It brought you back to like when we first get introduced to Rudy's past in the first couple episodes, and this was like a really great, as we're coming to like a season close, it was a great kind of bookend in terms of like editing and kind of bringing back those reminders of how similar he might feel now, and do people ever really truly change? Can they? Is it possible? Those questions are coming back now because now he's alone again. Yeah. And can he take that step, and can he get back up?
I have a question for you. Okay. So, like, obviously, like, Rudy has taken a step outside in the first episode of this entire series, right? Mm-hmm. We literally see the same exact raindrop in episode 1 with what looks to be an eye in it. In the opening sequence of this entire show.
You're right. And then we have not only raining at that raindrop at the end of this episode, but we also have it raining in the scene where Zenith says, I love you.
And it's also, like, the bubbling, it almost could be, like, reverse rain, right?
Ooh, I like that.
But the Rudy getting up at the end of this episode and walking outside, is that something that genuinely happened? And apologies for my confusion. And like did that happen? And then throughout his getting up at life and then going outside, it led to him saving these people's lives, like, inevitably? Or was it just symbolism of getting up there?
I think it was for his past self.
Yes.
Symbolism.
Okay. So that wasn't like something that actually happened.
No.
Okay.
I think we're led to believe from the first couple episodes that the only time he ever did leave the house is when he was literally kicked out and then he died. Gotcha.
Because, like, trying to deal with, like, the actual, like, theme of when one thing happens to you and you're already pushed down into a hole, it is very, very difficult to get up. And the unfortunate fact of the matter is that each time you don't get up, life is working against you and that hole is becoming deeper.
And with that visual of that bubbling, it almost reminds me as if you're sinking. Yeah. You're drowning. And then the little air bubbles are escaping you. And are you going to try to get above the surface? Are you going to try to break?
It's just it just seems like a longer and harder journey every step of the way if you just sit there.
And as you sink, it gets darker and darker and darker.
You know, it's unfair in a lot of ways, and like just how life is, that like sometimes like you're in the worst state of your life and you're like, man, if these things were done, or if I could just zero out like all the meters right now and start from scratch and start fresh, I swear that it would be different this time. And in this case, it would, right? And it's just the challenges of feeling like you've already squandered every opportunity that was given to you. Everybody's already reached their hand out, and you only thought of you're in your own paranoia that all of them are mocking you, and now in realization that it's gone, it's lost.
The whole retrospection talk there of made it sound like he knew at the time and was fully aware that he was being paranoid. It's like there was a subconscious awareness that these people were reaching out, and it wasn't, but his paranoia was just clouding it all over and keeping him from actually getting up. Because the risk was too great for if he was wrong. If his paranoia was right, the risk was too great to get up. And I thought one of the most kind of emotional, kind of on an empathetic level, things that happened in this episode is the talk about Rudy, this character who obviously through this whole montage of an episode of all of the hope that he has instilled in people and all of the good that he's done and the good influence he's done and how people respect him, how people care about him, how people talk about him when he's not even around. And then we get lines like, he'll be fine. He'll be able to, like, I heard he's depressed and I'm worried about that, but I trust in him to be able to pull himself back up. And this whole, I'm going to see Rudy someday and I'm going to get to the same level as him and I'm going to be someone who can protect him because he's been doing it he's the strong one. He's amazingly amazing. And then we also get this idea of like people reaching out their hands, but now no one is reaching out their hands because they all trust in him. Yeah. But there's also like still that element of he's like 13 years old. He's now alone for the first time ever in this life, in this world. And it brings you back to when Geese and Paul have that conversation of Geese being like, are you putting too much? He's like a kid. Are you putting too much expectation on him of the strength that he actually has? And so there was this empathy level of the person that takes all the burden emotionally and is the one that instills the hope in everyone else and cheers everyone else on and makes them feel safe. Who's there for them when they're sad? Yeah. And now all those people that would be there for him when he's sad, like when he had that fight with Paul and Eris got really defensive for him, and then now it's not there. Yeah. Oh.
It means so much more for personal growth, though, when nobody is there to pick you up and you decide that this time you're going to pick yourself up, even with the reminder of somebody needs you. Your work isn't done.
It's how it needed to be. If someone had reached out their hand here, what growth would have actually happened in terms of him healing from his past life?
What would have happened if Roxy had asked to be, and I know it probably wouldn't have happened, but like if Roxy just teleported to him, right?
I did wonder if that was something that she could ask for.
It wouldn't be the change that Rudy is and needs and has the power and capabilities to make. It's him getting up in this episode is the reason all of the other characters talk about him the way that they do.
He has... Your mom is waiting for you. And he gets that dream of her saying, I love you. Or he gets some vision of her, you know? It's a memory. Which, during that time, I was like, is Zenith remembering this? Is Rudy remembering this? Like, what's going on here? But your mom is waiting for you.
There's a really good quote that I'm going to paraphrase probably poorly here that I feel like it comes to mind of, I I really hope people don't judge a person by the actions that they make when they're at their lowest. But once they get up and continue to go, what they do with that second opportunity. Mm-hmm. And it's so telling. When we saw the flashback with Zenith, and Rudy is this kid reborn in a world who is perverted and has all these other desires. He's not looking through any type of malicious lens when he's offering help to his mom to clean up.
Mm-hmm. He sees
so
her
she doesn't
yawning.
have to do any more work. That's really Rudy's a really, really cool character, and I'm glad that we got to see a moment like that, right? Mm-hmm. I think that for the way that the story is portrayed, obviously we didn't see a whole lot of mundane moments at home where Rudy's offering to do chores, but knowing what he's been through and how he's gotten up again, and that's what he chooses to do, I think I really appreciate that.
I do too, especially when you get the really hard in terms of like a family relationship from the past life in this episode, mainly his mom and the little note she left on the food for him, and how his parents were like, we're gonna go to the school and we're gonna fight for you. Like, how much his parents probably worried day in and day out about him.
Yeah.
And how much they loved him and wanted him to leave that room, and all that they thought he was. All the beauty and the strength that they thought he had is the same beauty and strength that all of these people in the second life think he has. And it just like hurt a little bit. Because I'm like, that family is no longer there. And it's not like they gave up on him. They died.
Didn't Roxy have an entire dream of falling in love happen in like a maze or something?
Oh, stop.
Right?
Oh my god, what was that? When was that? Something about a labyrinth or a maze and falling in love. What? You're so right. I don't know what it came from, what episode it was in, and what the actual details were, but that sounds so familiar to me.
I want to say it was like around episode 11.
Before she left?
No, it was when she was on the back of the creature.
Oh, after Zenith and Paul's friend had an encounter, and Roxy blasted them out of the place.
Maybe episode 13. I'm not sure.
Okay. This might be where it is. It's like possible episode 13. They're all riding together.
A tall, slim young man who's manly but still makes childish expressions will save me by chance in the depths of a labyrinth. Fuck
Stop.
Off, Mushoku
And then
Tensei.
we will team up. And then we will team up, and as we work together, love will bloom between us.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, how happy would Zenith be if Roxy was like her daughter-in-law?
How upset would Roxy's dad be if Rudy was his son-in-law?
He's already had time to process it, you know? He already has had time. He will be fine by the time that does happen. But I will say, I don't think Sylphie and Eris will be too happy about this labyrinth love.
Okay, so Rudy's obviously going to end up at the labyrinth. How?
That's what I'm wondering about.
Does he need to meet Kishirika again? Well, or get word from Roxy?
Right now, because we got it, and obviously it could just be a trick, the conversation about recruiting Rudy has me intrigued. That maybe they want to team up in order to rescue people themselves as royals. There, like, because Soros was executed for letting the disaster happen, basically. Yeah. And so maybe these young royals are taking it upon themselves to show that they will go off and rescue their people. So maybe they're coming together with a group of people, and they're researching people that need rescued, and they're trying to come up and make a team to sponsor on rescue missions.
Yeah.
Maybe.
rescue missions or some other powerful mission. Fight.
Make sure this never happens again. I don't know.
Maybe. They show like a picture of like the world or like a universe, and it's like everything revolving around that blue square. So interesting.
Yeah, it looks exactly like our world.
Yeah.
Blue square.
We're
not flat, we're not a circle, we're a square.
There was one line somewhere along the lines of like I wanted to lose myself in that dream. And I think that's really like there's so much, the writing in the show is so easy to find parallels within like your own lives, you know, like losing yourself in a dream momentarily to pass the time in reality is something that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Mm-hmm. Going through the motions.
Yeah. One of the things that absolutely like killed me this episode was when the whole interaction between Eris and Ghislaine was great. Eris telling Ghislaine about who Rudy truly is to her, because sure, Ghislaine knew Rudy, but not to the degree of being teleported alone across the world and having to go through the most painful time. That's when your personality shows, right? But Eris said that when they held hands, Rudy's hand was smaller than hers. And I was like, fuck. Like that, no wonder that propelled her into the idea of I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to be able to not just sit there and let him die and let him be the only person who fights for me.
Yeah, it's like that whole time she spent where he was the one kind of taking charge it's almost like she would forget, or it wasn't as noticeable that he was smaller or that he was younger, because he was big and wise in terms of his actions and his thought in getting them through the demon continent and then back home. Gosh.
What do you think is going on with Zenith?
I don't know. I find it very worrisome that Kishirika couldn't actually see her. And so, but if you think about labyrinths, they're kind of like, in mythology, it's kind of like a prison that you put someone in. The Minotaur's down there.
Yeah.
So maybe she was thought to be a criminal. Maybe she actually teleported into the labyrinth but how would she still be alive? That's a question.
So like the language being used by Kishirika too, like, and then Roxy, you can't see her, not even with your Majesty's eyes. Like, I wonder if Zenith is in a place or held captive by somebody who's extremely powerful.
Like a Minotaur.
Like a god, you know?
Yeah, because we get the fact that our dragon god and man god can't really see things necessarily that are because of the other. That's
what it makes me think of. Like if there's if this place has a curse on it, or maybe Zenith has a curse on herself.
A labyrinth sounds like a place that a god would be.
Yeah.
So I could be down with that.
I feel like there's a possibility that there could be a lot deeper of history or like backstory to Zenith herself. Like the connections that she had previously in her life.
We get so much about Paul. We get a lot of because Paul interacted with all these different people and they were in the same group, but still we get way more about Paul's past and people that know Paul and the influence he had. But we don't get anything about Zenith.
It makes you wonder, because sure, she could have just ended up here and that sucks, and that is probably the case, but there is the idea that like somebody found her who was looking for her, or she ended up in a place where she had bad blood or made ripples. She's being punished because Paul made ripples. That could be it too. Paul? No. Your husband, never. Paul, slept with my wife and I am the king of this labyrinth and now I'm gonna imprison you as punishment to him. What do you think the conversation between Nord and Aisha is gonna be? I love my brother. I hate my brother. You know what I mean?
I think Aisha will help Norn warm up to her big brother.
Maybe.
Be like, yeah, I thought the same as you. I didn't like him at first, but, you know, this is how he was around me, and this is why I've forgiven him, and I love him.
Paul, it's interesting because Paul obviously has a lot of trust and weight in Rudy being the person to find and save Zenith.
Which is so interesting because of that conversation he had with Geese when he was mad at Rudy, where Geese was like, you're putting too much expectation on him and his talent, and how he should be acting right now. But it's like it's almost like the same idea of seeing someone as strong and capable, but without the tone of like cynical and mad. Like, I don't know, there's just a much more pleasant tone in his intention when he's like putting his trust in Rudy than before. It's the same, he's putting the same amount of trust basically, but it's a lot more loving and healthy, and like he has actually maybe evidence to back it up now. Before, he just was trusting this couple-year-old memories of his child and how they were, and how he's sure in the last couple years they're even stronger now. But now he actually has like evidence of the type of person his son is and what his son has gone through, what his son can accomplish. And it feels just a lot more respectful than just pushing intentions onto a kid and pushing expectations on him. It feels a lot more like, I trust him. Yeah.
I am so appreciative that we got a little bit of Geese, you know, after an emotional episode, last episode, and then a lot of sadness. The showrunners obviously know what they're doing if they feel like they need to inject some, you know, positivity into the show, even for a second.
Do you think that Geese is off where he had originally, like, episodes ago told Paul he was going to go?
Probably.
And he's still traveling there?
I think so.
It seems like it's an arduous journey.
It reminds me of the journey that Ghislaine had said that she was once on and suffered because she couldn't read or use magic or anything. God, magic is so fucking powerful in this world. It literally is the difference between life or death.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen in multiple instances why water would be so important. We get, you know, feeding the animals that are helping us carry the things that we need over the mountainside, or like giving water to them, I mean. And then we get Geese referencing here how he wishes he could have some water. Boss could make water. We get in this episode the idea that Rudy has the talent to build wells.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course he does. The rain
starting right when he steps outside at the end of the episode.
I kind of hope that he does it.
Yeah.
Which also could mean if he does that, he could have interaction with Sylphie and her little royal friends, because he does something so great for the people in the tents.
Yeah. My last thing, I really appreciated that we got, I believe the group's name was the Tokurabu Toughs. And they, like, somebody goes, did you really meet the Dead Ends? I'm like, what? Tell me about it. And they're like, yeah.
They look at each other and they look back. So cute.
I also love that Ruijerd is still utilizing the Dead Ends as his party. I hope that always continues until the end of time. That the Dead Ends are solidified as, like, the coolest party out there.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that we didn't talk about. Eris is being proclaimed dead.
Yes, by Alphonse, and that is a huge W move by Alphonse.
It's almost like he might view this as the last thing he can do for Philip, Hilda, and Soros.
I think it also might add some credence to Philip and Hilda's potential at being alive, even though that's like less than 5%. Like, because he didn't say that he would do that until like at first, right? To Eris's face, but
I mean, it really is just a very good thing that he chooses to do, where if she's not going to take up this position of becoming the wife of this new person in charge, the concubine, actually, not even wife, concubine, why would he want people chasing after her if she's already made her decision? If he's going to respect her decision that she doesn't want any part in that, then the best he can do for her is do his best to ensure no one chases after her.
Yep. Good episode.
Mhm.
I don't want the show to end. I don't want to like
either.
not have any more Mushoku Tensei to watch.
How are we only gonna have one?
Is
episode?
it one more?
I think it's one more.
That's really depressing.
That's terrifying,
if it's
isn't
only one
it? How do you do it? How do you do it?
We're gonna do it together.
Yeah.
All right. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.